Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
So welcome back, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
We have a guest today, Jason Riddle. You may remember him from November or October.
You may remember him from such episodes as.
Yeah. But Jason, why don't you, real quick before we dive into the topic, explain whatever you feel
Who you
like
is, why you is, why we got you here.
Especially because I think your job has changed a bit since we talked to you last.
Oh my God, so much has changed. So I don't remember when we talked last. I'm assuming we talked last around
Last time
the
we
end.
talked, you had just left your job and started a position for a campaign which you could not mention because it hadn't gone public yet.
Yes.
So it's public now. It is the campaign.
I hope it is, because we're halfway through early voting.
We're very much we're past halfway. We're in the
that's
third
right.
week.
We only have a couple days left.
Oh, buddy. So yep, I had left my job at Democracy NC, and we had just won the Apex Town Council race so wholeheartedly that and also because my job at Democracy NC was to affect turnout. I mean, as an organizer for that organization, that was what my job was supposed to do. After record turnout in every region that Democracy NC operates in, they decided to purge all of the organizers. So the reward for great work was good job. By the way, your job was experimental, and things I found out on the day I was terminated. We don't have any money to pay you, and so adios, bye-bye. About 4 days after that, I get a call from one of the candidates, and
But can I just say, before the 4 days, Alice was like, honestly, get a straight job. No more politics job for me for a while.
yes, I swore up and down. I was like, I'm not doing nothing for 26. I am taking a back seat. I'll run the early voting site, but that is it. Right. And I was like, I'm sleeping in, I'm going to be warm all the time. And I know that's where we're at because I've been freezing my ass off and not getting enough sleep. But
then 4 days after saying I'm out of politics,
I get approached and I met our candidate, and we had a kind of impromptu interview session at that meeting, and I was hooked. I love her to death. She's an amazing candidate. Her name is Nida Allam, and she is running for NC congressional district number 4. Now, this district, just like every district in this state, has been redrawn a bazillion times. And in the most recent redraw, it does favor our race greatly because we picked up, so we have Orange County, Durham County, part of Chatham, and then we kind of slide down the left side of Wake to Western Wake.
To get me and Mike.
Both of you too. Yeah. We pick up Western Cary and Morrisville, Apex, Holly Springs, and part of, I believe, Northern Fuquay we have. So, which is great. And I am the Wake County organizer for the campaign. So I have Western Wake, and I am doing my best to float in a big sea. It has been a huge challenge as a relative noob organizer. I'd only been in this business professionally for, like 19 months, 20 months. And, I felt like I was getting to that point where I knew enough to be dangerous.
Jumping from Apex Town Council race to U.S. Congress race, pretty big jump.
Right, and it's a big jump. Lots of scary, lots of I've never done this before. Lots of testing relationships because a lot of organizing is I know a guy who might be able to take care of that, and and
Jason's got a guy
pushing those buttons and seeing if they will work. And it's been great. I'm super happy, super blessed. We have an amazing team, inshallah, and I'm a very happy feller. I think we are running a good race. I think we have a shot at unseating an incumbent, which, politically, you guys know that I had a pass as a red team kid. I but one of the
3
things
out
I
of
was
4 of us
always
did.
right, exactly. You know,
I'm platinum, baby. I've always been blue.
but one of the things I always have been a fan of, I've kind of always been an anti-incumbent kind of guy. And so, particularly incumbents who are just so obviously comfortable.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of that in this race where there's obvious comfort.
Yeah.
And I don't think in that position one should really ever be super comfortable. And if you are, then it might be time to go home.
Yeah,
And
now is not the time to try to be comfortable.
yeah, now's
Like,
not the
at
time
all.
for comfort. You know,
No.
we're testing the Constitution to its limits pretty much every day. You know, Matthew and I are huge Dune nerds. We are flexing the Amtal rule daily. And you know, I feel like that is not really the best place to be.
Yeah.
And I would I mean, listen, I think I said before, like, if the libs are meant to be owned, you know, let me throw the white towel in now. I feel owned, so you can stop now.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can break in, I think that brings us to the topic at hand for
Yes.
today's pod perfectly and naturally.
So yeah, I wanted to talk today about you know, we talk a lot about vote blue no matter who. I think that I'll only speak for myself, but I think that I agree with that. But I also recognize that there is a inherent issue in that as well, which is that, like, how do we get the party to listen to us when they're giving us crap options? Now,
Right.
you know, we've talked a little bit in the past about primarying is the place to do that work. And unfortunately, sometimes the party puts its thumb on the scale. I have been very happy, by the way, to see how much uh, your campaign has been doing. I've been seeing the signs everywhere. I think I mentioned it last week on the pod that how, like, I'm seeing the signs everywhere. And then I was watching. I follow the Majority Report.
Oh yeah, cool.
And she popped up on there being interviewed, and I was like, this is amazing. And she did
Right.
excellent. She was so good. And she brought up a couple things that I want to talk about too in this. But the big thing that kind of brought me into this, wanting to talk about this today, is that there's been a lot of talk with Hassan Piker has mentioned, like, not wanting to vote for Gavin Newsom, and basically saying, like, he's not going to vote blue no matter who with Gavin Newsom because there has to be some accountability from the party. And I get the pushback from him, but I also, like, I think that Gavin Newsom is a potential risk for us. And a lot of these candidates that I think fall into this category are, especially when you talk about a side where we're running up against people who will absolutely lie. Like, Trump was saying he was going to be, like, the more peaceful candidate, and we
I'm
all
sorry. I'm sorry.
well, and we all knew that was crap. But then you have you know, Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and
Oh, I know.
they are talking about how they want to be isolationist, and I worry that if we send in a Zionist candidate in 2028 that wants to support and back Israel, that's a potential risk that we're going to have the same problem. Now, I will be voting blue no matter who, and I'm just hoping that they give us a candidate that won't be that problem for the people who sat it out, which I am pissed at the people who sat it out, but I also recognize the issue there. So I think there's an intense,
There's a lot going on,
Yeah.
Mike. There
Yeah.
really is, and you're not wrong in your
Yeah.
sentiment. I'm with you. I'm not a Gavin fan. I think Gavin's behavior during COVID was abysmal and ridiculously should not be. Like, listen, your ability to push back over Twitter and to make fun of the president does not make you automatically a
No.
good governing candidate.
I want him in charge of the social media campaign of a good candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
he could probably crush at that, right? And I think that one of the things that we're all noticing here, and particularly in this primary, and there's been something that's kind of been shoved down our throat as Dems, and it's that not everybody's good at every job.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're just not really. You know what I mean? And
She
not everybody's
agrees.
good at the job that they run for.
Matthew, you're sounding like a robot. Just a heads up. So
Yeah, it got better.
Hey, I'm a robot.
No, it's not better. It's not good.
No, it's not better. Sign
Jason,
into your hotspot.
when
I'm kidding.
when I was watching that Nida interview on the Majority Report, she mentioned, why one of the big things, one of the big reasons why she's challenging Valerie, or one of the things she's using as a issue. I don't know if it's one of the reasons she ran, but she mentioned about against Valerie Foushee is that Foushee hasn't said anything about abolishing ICE.
Nothing.
And I think that's going to be one of those deal breaker things. And that's going to be one of those things where potentially you are going to have conservatives calling that out on their side of things, especially when we go into 2028. And I worry about that as like, if you have a Democratic candidate who is unwilling to call out ICE, and I will say, like, if you can have a nuanced take on that, like, I think you could say I want to abolish ICE, but as far as voting, the way that I'm helping the process is I'm voting that you can't have the budget and without, as long as there's a mask allowance there. Like I like that too. Yeah,
I agree.
I would not hold that against anybody if they don't feel they can get everything, but you should be, you should still be like able to say out loud, like, what ICE is doing is wrong. And I don't, body cams are not that I don't know that Valerie Foushee has said body cams, but anybody who's claiming body cams is the solution.
Body cams, but it's not.
Yeah. Anyone who thinks retraining is a solution, like, we didn't train them not to execute people in the street. That's the problem.
In the first place.
Training in the first place is a good point. Also, with the body cams, like I've heard a lot of people say outright that
we have videos.
That someone was saying that the body cams aren't a deal breaker because we're seeing the video, like all the videos coming out. And if anything, then you just have, they'll make these highlight reels because they're not denying anything. And so like the training. And so the training is not there. We're talking about like literally, like any one of us could go be, if we wanted to, could go be an ICE agent and would have no training,
Zero.
I mean, Jason, you would be.
I would be lucky because I bring training from outside of the sphere.
I was gonna say you'd actually be qualified for the position, but
again, it's not anything I would ever consider doing.
That's not the point I'm trying to make, but
no, you're right. Listen, there's no other part of the federal government where you are in the field from recruitment to deployment in 47 days.
Yeah.
Period. And I know why they picked that number. It's so stupid. But there's nowhere. There's no basic training that's that short. There is no there's no schoolings that are that short. Everything's at least 6 weeks, 8 weeks, right? So I don't understand why they thought that would work out positively in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, it is for them. They're perfectly happy with what's going on, though.
I mean,
the Trump team is fine,
No, for the Trump team, but like within ICE, there's no fucking way you're gonna tell me that there's some like OG like sergeant or captain who got hired in from the birth of the DHS, right? So like somebody who's a leader in that organization has all these flunkies working for him.
Yeah,
there's no fucking way they're happy.
I don't know. I mean, Jonathan Ross, right, the guy who murdered
not
Nicole
the British
Good,
talk show
right?
host.
Yeah, not the British talk show host, but the one who murdered Nicole Good. He was like a 10-year veteran of Border Patrol. He wasn't a newbie who was just thrown out there.
Really, that long? That's
right. But I mean,
you joined in the Trump.
He didn't execute a woman because of lack of training and experience. He's been there 10 years. He has heard, don't stand in front of a car when they're pulling out before. It's not new to him. It wasn't training. It's disposition. And the reason he wants to be there is to kill people. That's the reason he's there.
Right. You're 1,000,000% correct on that. I can't agree more.
But to be specific about your race, not to do Jason's job. I love when Nida talks about one of the reasons she's running is we are one of the safest blue districts. I mean, it's super blue.
Mm-hmm.
So the primary is the election because whoever wins the primary is going to win.
Great.
We don't
Good.
need someone who's comfortable. We need an active progressive. This is the exact kind of district we should have an AOC. We need like the most progressive person in a bright blue district. There's lots of shades of blue to vote for in the primary, and vote for the shade you like. Then you have to vote for whatever shade of blue in the general, because otherwise you get a shade of red. But like, this is the time to not vote. I mean, I'll vote for Valerie Foushee in November if she's there, but I don't want someone who's as milquetoast as her there. I want someone who, in a hijab,
knowing what I know
stands
now,
in front of ICE
know
screaming in their face.
And knowing what I know now, after being in the same space as Valerie, and Matt, you can attest to this too. Valerie's presence in Wake County was pretty much non-existent in 2024, which is when we joined this situation with Valerie. She's my remembrance of Valerie Foushee before I became involved in this campaign was, I remember in 2024 she left her signs up too fucking long after the election was over. Okay, and that speaks to exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about someone who is feels like they're entitled to the position, they're entitled to their existence, and also I'm gonna say something, acts like they look down on Wake County. The minute I've seen her physically in this space on our land, she has a face on that says, "I smell something bad," and she has had a "how dare you ask me a question" type attitude, and so that turns voters off no matter what. And I don't know if in November, if we don't pull this off, which I think we will pull this off, and I think that we're going to send her packing. I don't think that we're gonna I would vote for her. I may jump over the balk and just call it a day, because I don't know if I necessarily want my personal name, and when I am back as a civilian again, being attached to somebody who is looks so poorly on my community.
Let me ask you a question about that. Do you think that if she was in a situation where, let's say, Foushee is the candidate, and she's in a district that it's less likely that it's a done deal that she's going to win, do you still do that math the same way, or do you feel like you have that freedom because I cannot vote for her without guilt because there's not going to be a Republican beating her? Because I think there is some, like, I have, when I lived in Massachusetts, I used to vote that way occasionally. I would vote third party because I knew that, the Democrat was gonna win in Massachusetts,
Right. And you're probably right, and I've done this before where I've just kind of skipped over races I don't feel too passionate about. I'm a weirdo when it comes to my behavior in the ballot box. But make no mistake, I usually land on the right side of history, and I usually land with people that I know. I'm not gonna lie, I voted in this primary already. I voted on day one. I was the 5th vote cast in Apex. Kind of proud of that. I in the judge race, I voted for the gentleman that I met. Neither candidate on paper looked poor or better than the other in any shape or form, but that gentleman had showed up at a Democracy on Tap that we had, and we had it under bad weather, and a lot of folks were not there. It was like pretty much myself and all candidates or people representing candidates, and to include a member from Representative Foushee's camp. So, and we got to talk. We had a fellowship. We had a good time to where we got a chance to exchange some notes. But James Whalen was there, and I got a chance to talk to him. So
yeah, I did the same thing for district attorney. Like, I don't know all the Wake County district attorney candidates, except I do know Wiley, and I know that Wiley has been there for my family personally, just as an emotional support person who knew my wife and daughter were going through stressful times when he wasn't even our representative. He called up to say, "Hey, I saw the news. This is something that I know affects you. Are you okay?" And that gets my vote, just as who he is.
Right.
And I'm sure the other people are qualified to do the job. If one of them ends up in the job, I'm not going to move out of the county because I'm afraid of who the DA is. But Wiley deserves my vote for what a stand-up person he is.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I love Wiley to death. Wiley's campaign is outstanding. Shout out to Rinda. I love you, homie, and you're the best. She is his field organizer. She's amazing. We've chewed a lot of the same dirt together. And there's nothing like strife amongst the community that can bring folks together. Shared strife is bonding more than anything else. Yeah, I think.
And Leah is saying in the YouTube chat, to remind, that Wiley has preemptively endorsed her for any office she may run for in the future.
Hey,
We
listen,
we were at
I
a
support this
meet
as
and
well.
greet. Madhavi and Leah put together a meet and greet for him
Yeah.
here in Apex. And from the microphone, he said, I just want to say, I'm endorsing Leah in whatever she runs for. I don't know what it's going to be, but she's endorsed.
Let's get her on a ballot.
I tried to push her into town council. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
27's not here yet. A lot could be said between here and
Right.
there.
This brings up a curiosity for me, and I am one of those horrible previously reformed Republican voters. Please don't hurt me. And my brother, same, 4 years younger than me, he has children. He has 2 daughters. He lives in Raleigh. He votes in the same districts I do.
Right.
And the last presidential round, Jason, this is something specifically for you and somewhat Matthew. My brother takes voting as an absolute expression of who he feels is the best candidate. Damn the Electoral College, damn areas that are not popular vote tallying, right? He feels that voting for any other individual than the one you genuinely feel is the best is a silly move. And my wife, who has voted Democrat in nearly every damn thing that she has ever seen, says, well, that is a silly way to do this because you're now giving your vote to someone who has no chance to win. So, being that you've been campaigning,
I'll say, I have
what?
I have Arab neighbors who voted for Jill Stein because they didn't want to vote for Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're happy with what's going on in Palestine. And I think if they could go back and say, well, you know what, even if she wasn't good on the thing, and of course she never said a word on it, so who knows what her stance actually was, she wouldn't be as bad as Trump is. And
I don't think there's any argument for me whatsoever.
It's like a half a vote for the person who does win.
There's evidence for days about who was paying Jill Stein's bills, and it wasn't Jill Stein. It was absolutely the Trump administration, or the Trump campaign, and the cabal of jerks that we ended up getting in the front end of this whole thing.
So do you stand? Because I'm the believer that the Rebel Alliance will always triumph, right? I'm the guy that genuinely believes if you push damn hard enough, there is no possible way the evil wins. And I really genuinely believe that.
Yeah,
but I'm also the guy who will vote knowing how the Electoral College works. I might love a Libertarian candidate. I might even love a Green Party candidate. But I sure as hell ain't not going to fill in that little dot on the ballot because I know that vote is a throwaway, even if it's the person that I feel the best about. And that is a point of contention that my wife had. She said, well, why would they vote for someone who has no chance? My brother's stance, it's who I believe is the best. That's what I'm doing. I'm voting for who I believe is the best in every situation.
Well, belief in the best is what the founding fathers intended, right? Right. I mean, it's all over their writings. Yes. It's all over. I mean, I don't know how many times they had to say it for, an informed electorate was the intention, an electorate that understands who civically understands our country was intended, and the best person that you feel to win the race should be. Like, I pushed back on Jeff Jackson. I wrote him when he pulled back from running for Senate. And I was like, why did you burn my time and burn political capital, which he ended up settling in a great position anyway. But why did you do all this if you did not feel like you were the best guy? And if that was the case, you should have primaried Sherry Beasley and let us work it out. You do not save democracy by suppressing democracy.
Yeah.
like these primary processes are.
I said
would
much the same thing to Wiley about Senate. I was like,
yeah.
But I guess he wants to have a job, so he didn't run for Senate because why lose when you could run for district attorney and
I almost said
win.
the same thing to Wiley over Senate.
I said I would have. I get that you want to be district attorney and do good and prosecute the hell out of our corrupt General Assembly members who don't get any punishment under the current DA. But it's like, I would like to have seen a robust primary for Roy Cooper. The people running against him, there's no real primary there. They're just names you never heard
they're
of.
just people trying to get their name out.
Yeah. And it's like, but I would like to have him field tested as a candidate and back in practice. He hasn't run for anything in a while. It just, there's reasons to have a primary, even if you think it's a foregone conclusion who's going to win the primary.
And make no mistake, part of the reason why Kamala Harris is not president right now is because we had a joke of a primary that turned a lot of people off.
So she wasn't in.
We can talk
what
about
primary.
We can talk about the uselessness of primaries in general when it comes to the presidential race. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to particularly, this is unique to the presidency, the parties pick who they want to pick at the end of the day.
I don't know. Obama wasn't the party's pick. Clinton was, and he won.
Right.
I think
he upset that.
I think they put their thumb on the scale, and Matthew said this before in the past. Like, it's if you can overcome their thumb on the scale, well, think about how powerful you are. Now, I think that is true in a huge way, but I also I wonder if 2016 would have gone differently, because I think that. Hillary did win the popular vote. So that's a tough thing to to reconsider, but also, Bernie, there was people that were voting for Hillary because they were voting against Trump. How many people were enthusiastically voting for Hillary? Bernie would have had some of that. And then Trump had enthusiastic voters for him. And I always feel like that's a bad campaign strategy, to be the one that you're like, Biden, it worked out for Biden because I think a lot of people voted against Trump, but that was also when people knew he was the incumbent. This was an option that could actually happen because it was already happening. I think people did not think that in 2016. I think a lot of people overlooked that and said, I'm not going to vote for Hillary because I'm not passionate about Hillary and Trump's a joke. And I worry about that because when the party doesn't want to listen to, or wants to think, you said the thing about Valerie Foushee about thinks she was ordained, or I forget how you worded it. There's an extent to which the party absolutely acts like, well, it's now Hillary's time. It's now
Reverend
Joe's
Foushee.
time. It's now this person's time. And they ordain the person essentially. Now, sometimes we're lucky and we have an Obama who comes out and is like, you're not going to stop me.
Some folks called that 2016 race a coronation.
Yeah, I mean,
and how many years in the seat of the presidency was Hillary Clinton signaled that was going to be shoved down our throat? Both the candidates who flanked Hillary Clinton were absolutely more qualified for that position than she was. And likable. Who would have mopped the floor with Trump.
I'm not sure I would agree with the qualified. I think I would agree with the I think if you had,
you're right, because qualified is a misused term.
Right. Well, and the being a president is the ability to run and the ability to do the job. And I think that she had probably the best ability to do the job. Although I would have loved to see what Bernie could have done. But I think that Bernie, if he had gotten to the national stage, was just more magnetic. That doesn't mean he would have been a better president, but I think he had a better shot at being president. But ultimately, the party knew better than we did. And they made it very clear from the beginning that they know better, and you're just going to do what we tell you to do. And I voted for Hillary.
The girls do at school, they do this.
No. Bernie was buried by his own party. He was too populist, just like Walz.
Yeah,
right. So,
but to be fair, Bernie's not a Democrat. Bernie's only a Democrat during presidential elections. He's independent. That's part of what hurts him is that since he insists on being an independent while he's in the Senate, and then he comes to the Democratic Party and so I want to be your candidate, and they're like, you're not one of us. So that hurts him. Why would he get support from the party? He doesn't support the party.
That's fair. That's a fair
It's
point.
fair, but it's also.
I mean, I'm not saying
it
it should be that way, but I'm not surprised. That's not a
is
surprise.
it
The
still
problem is
like,
though that he's not the only one they do that to. Like Mamdani.
Oh, no.
What happened over the last 6 months with Mamdani? Like the party refusing once he was on the ticket to like endorse him was
even
crazy.
acknowledge his presence?
Yeah. And like
He's too
like
popular.
the party
Uh,
is
Yeah.
the party
And
is
what's really great
damaged,
is, people have been calling Nida the Republicans are calling her the new Mamdani, and now her fans are calling her that. Like
Oh, yeah.
it started as an attack, and now it's become a yes.
We wanted
great?
a Mamdani, yeah. Like we
we're
feel
totally okay with that. And is being accused of being a new Mamdani or a North Carolinian Mamdani really a bad thing? So a
Give
candidate
it to
that
me.
goes out and meets people and talks to
I'll
them and
wear
listens
it.
to their problems.
Yeah.
A candidate who actually gets off their bum to go speak to people. A candidate who is truly against things that people in the district that are against. A candidate
Yeah.
who's truly for the things that people in the district are for. I don't know how hard that is. We, make no mistake. We won our town council race on the Mamdani formula. We won because we put the candidates in front of the people as often as possible.
Yeah.
Not us volunteers, not the infrastructure, not the people behind the scenes, the candidate. And 9 times out of 10, people don't want to hear what the candidate has to say. They just want to say things to the candidate. They want to issue their problems, the airing of grievances, Festivus style. You know what I mean? Like they want to be able to say what's on their mind and have somebody respond to that actually gives a shit.
Yeah.
And how dare we expect in our political process somebody who goes to office that gives a shit.
Yeah. Madhavi just said in the chat, by the way, she said, why does the party have to endorse anyone? They should just stay out of it. And I agree. I mean, once we have a clear winner, then they should be endorsing the winner that we picked. Right?
The primary should be the endorsement process.
Yes, exactly.
What else is there?
But prior to that, there should be no endorsement.
Well, I don't think there's an official, the DNC party endorsed in the primary. There's people who are currently elected officials who endorse, but in the case of, our congressional race, a lot of them are endorsing Jason's candidate. Like seeing a lot of endorsements, especially on the local level. A lot of people who are working on the ground are supporting, challenging the incumbent because we're not getting support from her from the national level.
Right.
And I'm like, again, I'd rather have her than someone who's going to vote yes on every Trump thing. I'd rather have one more chance to have the Speaker of the House be a Democrat instead of a Republican. Like, I don't want a Republican in that spot. So in November, I will swallow my bile if I have to. I will look on the bright side and say, well, here are all the good points about her. And there are good points. They're just in the primary. They're not as many as there are.
This is the guy who said he would
voters.
never vote for a boomer again. And when I voted for Roy Cooper, I had to push the bile back down.
Yeah, but there's the thing though. I will say for the term boomer, there's a baby boomer who is a person of a certain age, right? No, I'm not a boomer. I'm Gen X. I'm Gen X.
I know.
Motherfucker.
I'm kidding.
There's a baby boomer, which means you're born in a certain age, and then there's a boomer.
Oh yeah,
which you can be older or younger than that age and still be a boomer.
A boomer by behavior.
And you can be in the age and not be a boomer. You're just a baby boomer. You're right. Roy is a baby boomer, but he's not a boomer.
And anybody who says kids these days,
elder millennials are a real thing.
Yeah.
Yes, elder millennials are a real thing. And I don't believe in the straddling of generations. Like, I am totally okay with calling, like, I don't believe in the Zennials. I don't believe in any of that garbage. I think as good Gen Xers, it's our job to adopt millennials who put our traits forward, who are Gen X forward in their millennialness. And I think that the more we adopt those folks, and you're one of me, it's fine. You're not those kids that annoy you too. But yeah, brother, like, this race has been a whirlwind. It has been it's been awesome. I am, like I said, I'm really lucky that I've had the opportunity to learn so many things and to be attached to such great organizers too. And our candidate grew up as an organizer. You know what I mean? Like there are so many things that I have had the opportunity to learn.
One of the
And
things she said on that interview with Majority Report was 10 years ago or 11 years ago, she was in Greensboro introducing Bernie Sanders in front of the crowd. And last week or last month, he did the same for her. And you know, and that's really cool.
It's amazing.
And if you want to talk endorsements, the fact that Bernie Sanders and David Hogg are both supporting her is enough reason to vote for her right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the old, I've always bucked the system to do what's right guard, and the we need young blood, people who are active and progressive guard, you know, side by side. That's a hell of a coalition.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And yeah, we're really lucky. God, I just can't. I have trouble communicating how lucky I feel by being granted this opportunity to be a part of this campaign and part of this community.
You know, selfishly, you know, we all know that my greatest cause is separation of church and state and all the things that fall out under it. And to me, it's a bonus, bonus that since she's Muslim, that I'm not saying Valerie Foushee is a white Christian nationalist, obviously, but she wouldn't have the same reaction to a "In God We Trust," you know, or put the 10 Commandments up as a non-Christian would, to instantly say, "Oh, wait, back off on that. That's not right." So to me, I think we're a little closer to white Christian theocracy than we are Sharia law. So I'm happy to have a Muslim there who will say, whoa, 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 I'm in a minority religion. This does not suit minority religions, which will also include no religions. You know,
and I also think, and this is a little cynical perhaps of me, but I think that the more we have Muslims in the government, the more likely that the white Christian nationalists are to hesitate on some of the things that they're able to do or push, because
they can't alienate the community so easily.
Well, also they won't want like the Supreme Court to back the idea so much, because ultimately we could end up with you know, like, oh,
they'll be afraid of Sharia law.
They'll
like
be afraid of
if we
Sharia
set
law.
the precedent that religion sets the law, what if?
And then we have, you know, we have
though the differences in what
and
Sharia law wants and white Christian nationalists want are really not many differences. Like they're pretty aligned on what they
align. Yeah.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, like Sharia law is a North American construct. It doesn't exist in the nations that we're talking about. There is a Islamic law in Saudi Arabia. There's Islamic law in Iran, but the Islamic laws and all the Islamic practices are meant to police other Muslims. If you're not of their faith, they leave you alone.
They don't care.
They don't care. I've told you guys before, when I was in Bahrain and Ramadan hit right smack dab in the middle of summer, and the base was like, you better wear long sleeves and don't be drinking out there, don't be eating and drinking during sunlight hours and all this stuff. And I tried to play by the rules for the first few days, and the manager of the hotel I stayed in was like, "What's going on, bro?" And we had developed a relationship. And he goes, "Why are you long sleeving it? And like, you're coming in here dying every day." Like, because it was like 114 degrees with a bazillion % humidity. And he's like, what are you doing to yourself? And I was like, it's Ramadan. We're supposed to be do this and do that. And he's like, are you Muslim? And I said, no. And he goes, then this is not for you. This is our holiday. Like, do you want me to go to your country and tell you how to Christmas? No.
Yeah, I've been saying on social media, the difference between white Christian nationalism and Sharia law is one of them actually exists, and the people who support it pretend the other one does.
Right. I mean, you make no mistake, you know, and these white Christian nationalists, they're carved out of the same material that created Al-Qaeda, created all the Iranian proxies, created the Taliban. These folks they're cut from a similar cloth. The only difference is the color of their skin and where they are. Yeah, you know, most are born as criminal. Most of their radicalism starts in criminal life. Most of their radicalism starts in some sort of being caught in their criminal life, right? And then after they're caught, suddenly it's time to faith up and to use faith as your weapon to justify your future criminal activity. I don't know why we can't just see it for what it is. So many, um, you know, um, oh God, I think it was al-Zarqawi in Iraq, Al-Qaeda Iraq, AQI, right? He started as a gun runner,
Yeah, it always
moving
confused me
weapons
that
into
we
the
send the
country.
military after terrorists when terrorists are criminals.
They're
Like
criminals.
that should be police force going after them.
Well, yes, but if we took out the police force and disrupted the country and killed all their infrastructure, then it is kind of our responsibility to fix. But
Well,
make
I
no
mean, even if it's
mistake.
our responsibility, but I'd rather have like, a U.S. legal approach than to
Right.
bomb a city to get the criminals who are hiding in the city.
Yeah.
Right. And most counterterrorism assets that are at least in DoD, they start out in criminal law enforcement.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, it's a crime.
The pipeline into counterterrorism starts in criminal law enforcement because they come after these folks using the same methodology as you would as any other criminal.
So
It's not different.
My biggest call to action, these things like when we go to like King, stuff like that, the sign that I like to wave is the one that says, "Keep your theocracy off my democracy," because
I
that's
love
where
it.
because I think half the issues that I'm for are rooted in that. Like it's white Christian national and theocracy that leads to women not having rights, women not having bodily autonomy, rounding up the brown people and trying to get them out of the country.
Right.
So many of the being anti-vaccine, anti-science, it all comes from that same root.
Right. And I've said it here before and I'll say it again. Our future in defense is in the global south and it is in our brown allies. And until we actually start treating those relationships at least half as good as we treat the relationships with our white allies, then we're never going to really see, the concept of peace in our time is never going to be a reality until we at least bring those folks to the table. And I'll roll the dice on it. And I'll probably say that there are a lot of brown allies who we've fucked over that would have been way better allies than most of our white allies.
Oh yeah.
We had a relationship in Iraq and Afghanistan and Kuwait and in Bahrain and in Qatar and in Yemen and in Oman and in UAE that those countries want to work with us nonstop. And they are constantly coming to the table. Please, America, please work with us. Teach us how to fight how you fight. Teach us how to defend how you defend. And we want to be part of this conversation. And over and over and over again, we let them down.
I mean, imagine how much more affordable Dubai chocolate would be if we had a better relationship with UAE.
Imagine how affordable
oil is so pretty.
Imagine how affordable trips to Dubai would be.
Because I'm a big fan of the pistachio, and I would like it in my chocolate, but it's
as
expensive.
an Italian, I am a
it's
big
the
fan
most
of
expensive nut to have
as a
in
brother
chocolate.
guinea. I'm also happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're one of the things we talked about tonight, and I think that we haven't touched on yet is the things that we all kind of find important policy wise. And as you those of us, the two apexers on this call, we know this all too well. Data centers is top of mind. AI is top of mind. And our candidate, Nida Allam, is in support of a moratorium on data centers in conjunction with Senator Sanders. And that would, in theory, correct the issue that we have here in Apex with the New Hill data center. It would correct any other possible data center that could pop up in the state and at least put some thought into the process, because the vibe of AI, and I know we look, AI is the big catchphrase, and national security related to AI is such a big catchphrase right now. Although when you ask people what security you're looking for in AI, no one really has an answer. It's the only answer is we have to beat China at what though? Is that the environmental impact of the data center facility itself, the likelihood of these facilities, even particularly this one in New Hill, being out of date by the time that the concrete is drying on the building, is super high.
The
Because
fact
whenever
that Duke is already allowed to charge us whatever they want because the GOP in the state, it's in their pocket and lets them do whatever they want. Let them have a data center come in and say, well, now we have to double your rates because we got to support. Even if it's not true that the data center needs more power, they're just going to use it as an excuse to increase the price of power.
North Carolina is a bit of a Johnny-come-lately to the data center race, considering that Virginia already has a fantastic monopoly on that. And the longer that, Jason, you're really speaking to something that's close to my heart coming from technology, the closer we get to that bubble popping, the more useless that giant suck becomes. Of
my vice
water,
chair,
of energy, of all of that. Like, I have no issue with it being there if it's handled appropriately. It's not going to be.
My vice chair calls them future laser tag arenas.
Oh, yeah. Or Six Flags over Jesus.
I think
one or the other.
I think that this is a good example of something that, like, this is a great topic or platform to have, that, like, this is something that if you're not on the right side of it, would not be difficult for a conservative in the general to come against you, like, on. So, like, this is something where when it comes to nervousness about the encroachment of big tech, that is not a one side has a monopoly on that. Same thing with, the way that ICE has been treating people. One side doesn't necessarily have a monopoly. These are things that we need to be strong on as Democrats, and and especially our candidates, because those are weak spots that if we aren't strong on those, it's easy for someone to say, I'm in line with the Republican Party on A, B, C, and D, but I won't have a data center come in, or I won't have, like, I won't, I will pull back on ICE's reach, but they can go to the left of some of our candidates on that, and and that's a real danger point. Absolutely. It doesn't mean that they're not full of shit. Like look back to 2024 again, with obviously the situation in the Middle East, specifically in Gaza, would be better under Harris than it is under Trump, but he was able to kind of run that way, and, like, and give a little bit of credence to his side of plausible deniability. And we've seen people breaking even from him on that. When we go into, like 2028, we've got, Marjorie Taylor Greene is very anti keeping going in Ukraine and in Israel.
Because it's popular, not because she knows what the hell she's doing.
I'm saying that if you have her run, if she somehow gets the nomination, or if her and Tucker Carlson, which I've been hearing a lot of people talk about, the two of them, if they get the nomination and they run against, like, a Newsom, and Newsom is like, we need to back our allies in Israel, I think that there's a good chance we lose. And I think we have to look at strategy. We have to look at strategy as much as, like, that. You talked, Alex, about your brother. I want to vote for the person who I believe is right, but you also have to look at strategy of, are we throwing away votes in going, letting them go to the left of us on certain topics? Now, that doesn't mean that I won't be holding my nose and voting for Newsom if that's the case. Or, I'm using him as a stand-in because there are other people who could. We still are 3 years out.
A lot of time between here and January 2028, right?
Right, but there's a lot of there is a lot of wiggle room there for the Republicans, especially as they are kind of a fractured team, but they are also a very much vote red no matter who team.
Yes,
and because we
especially
have a whole
when
lot
that
of
red is backed by Putin. That's the kind of red they love.
Yeah,
right.
We have a lot of never Trumpers, but I just don't believe that they're really never Trumpers. At least not all of them that say that. I think that they are, like, on paper, I'm going to say I'm never Trump, and then I'm going to go vote for Trump because I think that the Dow's at 50,000 or whatever. Or
oh my God. Well, I mean, there go all our concerns. The Dow's at 50K. Just end the recording now.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah. So for me, I just want to make that clear too, so that it doesn't sound like I'm not saying that I would not vote blue no matter who. I will. I do think we need to, as a
The
party
Dow's
and
at
as a people.
48.8, by the way.
Okay, the meme. I don't know the meme very well. But
It's
Well, I know
good.
she was lying when she said it was 50,000. It wasn't quite there yet, and it's still not there. So
Yeah.
She sucks, dude.
But the point being is like, there is a strategic downside. There's a strategic hole in this plan of whoever the party thinks is the most polished, the Gavin Newsom, the guy who can get under Trump's skin, or Vance or whoever. I mean, I don't think I am hoping that the candidate is Vance, because I think Vance can't. Vance is the easiest option that I can see now on the horizon.
It depends on the JD Vance that we get, right? If
Sure.
we get the hillbilly elegy JD Vance comes back, like say Trump is no longer on our planet,
or no longer coherent, which is
or no longer coherent.
Well, that wouldn't make a difference. They'll keep him propped up, but if he's no longer on the planet, then Vance will be sworn in as president, and he can be a different type of president than he is vice president.
I'm referring to the 2028 race, right?
Let's say in 2 years, Trump is gone. Trump, the Big Macs get him, or his hand rotting off gets him, and we get President Vance
talking
that
dirty
way.
to me.
He might be a very different President Vance than he is as Vice President Vance. You know?
Yeah,
I saw that.
No,
and then he'll have 2 years. He'll have 3 years to rebrand himself as he runs for president.
Are you more worried about hillbilly elegy JD Vance or sweaty Peter Thiel's best friend JD Vance? Like, which
sweaty
of those
Peter
two are you?
Thiel's best friend JD Vance?
Yeah, that's definitely the one I am more afraid of.
Because
which one do you think is more electable? Because
JD
which
Vance,
one's underneath is the question. Like, it doesn't make, like, which one will he present because he thinks it will get him elected?
He wasn't even
regardless of which one
JD
is
yet.
No.
Yeah, well, he'll
when you have both options, that's like scary too, though, because if you can
it's crazy
be
scary.
one in public, and then once you get into that role, then you can be the other. That's also scary. If he shows up and is the folksy, like, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps when, kind of guy in the campaign, and then ends up
shucks.
and then ends up governing as the Peter Thiel puppet. That's tough. Although Matthew has brought up before that if he got sworn in the next year, he's not eligible for he'd be eligible in 2028, but he wouldn't be eligible in 2032.
Yeah. If he serves more than 2 years of the term, it counts as a full term as far as being reelected.
True.
So you want him, so you want Trump to die earlier than 2 years, not a month into his third year.
I forgot how many basics of law the current administration was following. Oh, wow! So they're just going to try to run him anyway. It won't matter.
They won't,
But Vance doesn't have the ability to get away with what Trump.
Charisma vacuum.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, if Trump tries to run in 2028, I'm not sure he won't have some support from. But if any of them, any of the others try to go for a third term, they don't have that. Maybe Tucker, but like JD, if he was to go for a third term in 2032, if let's say he becomes president tomorrow, Vance isn't going to have the party behind him on that at all. Trump is the only God King that they're gonna allow that right to at the moment.
He's the one they have a laundry list of waivers and excuses for, right? Only Trump. And you're right. Now, the reason why I brought this scenario up like I did, because there is a difference if Trump is in an influential position versus Trump no longer is here, right? And
yes,
because the way this situation has some sort of legacy, it is deeply determinant upon how they kiss the ring when it comes to DJT, right? Do I think as a constitutional republic we have a great shot with a hillbilly elegy JD Vance? Maybe.
Yeah.
Right. He at least communicated in those years that he respected the institutions, respected the guardrails, respected all the things. Right. And I don't necessarily want to sit here and say that guy no longer lives inside that body, because he probably does. But if Trump is still on the playing field, we could see all sorts of fuckery happen. You know,
if he still Vito Corleone's this, he
right.
could be out of action as the sitting president, but still be pushing every button, and then BB's over here moving the marionette strings.
And
But
make no mistake, the Constitution has an open door for.
Yeah.
It says you can only be president for 8 years. They could 2 terms, right? A maximum of 8 years. But he could be VP for another 8 years.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me he's not in charge of it as VP?
Yeah. And
you could also, I could also see them, you know, the fuckery with him.
You want. You know,
I could see them putting him on the Supreme Court. Like, you know, they floated that idea about Obama way back when.
Right.
I could see
still
Trump
want Obama on the Supreme Court.
Yeah. But I could see Trump being like, well,
Michelle,
Obama got
him,
floated, so
Barry.
float me, you know. And then having, you know, like and like he has a control over these people. And to some extent you're like, does he have dirt on them? Like, why is there this level of control? But like I'm not.
I think they have dirt on each other. I think that's where they are all bound. They have dirt on each other like crazy.
A huge amount of that party is based on, I have something on you. You'd better step lightly.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous and scary way to play cavalier.
Yep. And the placard of Epstein class has been one of the best things that's come out in the last couple of weeks. And they're not going to be able to shake that off overnight. And, you know, all of us who will rise up to oppose will be more than happy to show, look, this person is in the Epstein class. You know, we talked about a lot of things, and one of the things that the public has put, and I remember this when I was a right winger, when I was a Republican, I used to be pissed off that the Democrats wouldn't clean their house. And part of the reason why I felt like I was a better use of my time to be a Republican was, no, we're not judging that kind of cleanly of the house. But the fact that the Republicans would show that, like, dude, this fucking guy's gone and we're gonna send him home. And the fact that we're kind of, even that this race, this CDO4 race, we're showing that the Democrats are willing to clean our own house. And I think that the people need to see that. And the more that it happens, the better off we are. We've all joked that, you know, the Republican Party we grew up with was the adult in the room. And the Democratic Party were the idealists. They had the ideas. Some people liked those ideas. Some people didn't like those ideas. And the Republicans would be like, okay, kid, now how are you going to pay for this? Right? Now, that conversation is dead. And the right wing that we have today is wrapped around vengeance and wrapped around self enrichment. They're all trying to steal whatever they can. But Donnie Brasco is one of my favorite movies about the mafia, and one of the best lines in there is you got 50 wise guys in New York chasing the same nickel. And that's what's happening with this GOP. Us Dems are having to wear both hats that we grew up not necessarily wearing.
I think we've always had both hats. The Republicans have always good at making it look like we weren't. I mean, which presidents have had balanced budgets and had surpluses?
Right, and you're 1,000,000% correct, Matthew. I cannot help but agree. You know, Clinton told them all, nobody goes home until there's a balanced budget. When's the last fucking time we saw that? Then. That's the last time we saw that. Right? And there's something to be said that nobody goes home until there's a balanced budget. You know,
or North Carolina, nobody goes home if there's a budget, so don't pass one.
Right.
We don't have a budget. Anyone doesn't know that. We don't have a budget in North Carolina.
We don't have a budget. We're on 24 numbers, right, Matthew? Because I may have talked about this
at least
the other
it's
day.
2 years. This is our second year without a budget. I mean, which means we use the old budget, but which doesn't cover everything.
Right. We're operating on 2024's budget in 2026, where shit costs more in 2026. But yeah, it's we have to show the public that we're willing to clean our house. And I think that this race in CDO4 is a great example of that. We have some others across the state that are there's primaries going on. We have primaries going on for DA. I feel like that is, again, you do not save democracy by suppressing democracy. This is the most peaceful way we can decide who's going to govern. You know, if we don't do this, we have people storming the Capitol.
Yeah.
And we can all agree that that's not a way to determine who's going to be in charge next.
And the key is get out and vote. I mean, Jason, you may have numbers. What percentage of registered voters vote in the primary? Because it's been empty, right? You've been there every day, and I know it's not election day yet, so maybe they'll come out election day, but it's been pitiful. And then people complain that they don't like their choices. Look who they forced us to vote for, but you could have voted for someone else if you could have showed up.
I will say.
Let me do here, or maybe one of y'all can do some quick Google foo. I want to say there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 million people in Wake County, or 4 million people in Wake County. Our last estimate for the county counted votes, so that's Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliated, is somewhere around 20K.
I will say that I've been seeing Nida's stuff all over, but if Matthew hadn't been talking about it and you hadn't been on here and kind of alluded to it last time we had you on, I wouldn't know who she's running against or what the importance is, like she, even though like she's the underdog because she's not the incumbent and all those other things, though, because it's a primary in a midterm, and it's there is a lack of coverage on it in a significant way that and so
there's an elephant in the room. People are exhausted.
Yes,
we need if there's any issue, the four of us need to start getting off our asses about is after this is over, we need to have all the elections in at least Wake County sync up with the national election. Raleigh has it right. They do their municipals now. They do everything right now, and they get a year off between elections. We were just out there in November. It's February.
Yeah.
And
to some extent, like just news wise, because we had the mayoral race in New York, and none of us are New Yorkers, right? Or none of us are right now New York residents. Matthew and kind of Alex, but like it doesn't affect any of us outright.
Wait, he's not an Oakland resident.
Yeah,
not at the moment.
But
he's just an A, and never mind.
But it was in our feeds, and it was in our mental space,
right?
And so, like, you're right. Election burnout is a problem that and I think that there's an extent to which that's kind of on purpose too. Like,
yeah. So, there's we say the bus that's never late here is racism, right?
Yeah.
And if it's in the calculus, it is the answer. You can't tell me that the concept of electoral exhaustion is not to disenfranchise African Americans in North Carolina. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Our indications we're seeing out at the polls and actually out while folks are out canvassing and while we're phone making, if they were unaware of the election, they're and that's the majority of folks. They're like, wait, an election's happening? And that
people
that's
say,
common.
what's the use of lawn signs? For a lot of people, that's how they know there's an election, because they go, well, there's signs outside there, and there must be an election.
I was talking about that a couple of episodes ago. I was like, they're not for me. Why do they exist? I'm not going to have my mind changed by a piece of ugly cardboard.
But in November,
people in our neighborhood stop by our house to ask us who to vote for because we're the house with all the yard signs.
Because you're clearly engaged. Yeah.
In November of presidential election years, we know to vote. But like there is, but even still, some people will only vote in that one category and leave the rest of the ticket blank.
We knew one who ran for town council here. He was super proud that he's like, I only vote for. He had never voted in a municipal, and he decided to run for
municipal office, having never voted for anyone in the municipal office.
I would guess, tell people, I only vote for president, and I leave the rest blank.
I would guess that with the way that Trump did, and I'm so happy that I can't remember the guy's name, Mark. That ran for governor. The guy that ran for governor.
Robinson.
Oh, Mark
Robinson.
Rottenstein.
Our mini soldier.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I don't remember his name. That's such a nice little space of my brain. But the fact that
there'll be news articles about him going to jail at some point for all of his child care fraud. So hopefully we'll get those headlines.
The fact that he lost and Trump won here, I think, is a good indicator that there's a lot of people that's the governor. That's not even like town,
but that happens in a normal cycle
whatever.
too. Like if you look at 2016, when Cooper won for governor, but Trump won for president. The same statewide race.
No, we're weirdos here. They know it.
Yeah.
We're truly purple. We're purple state.
That could be people who just voted for Trump but didn't vote down the line, so they didn't vote for McCrory because they just didn't vote down the line.
So if you guys are cool,
they were pissed at McCrory too.
We're at 7:37. It is time to start wrapping.
Yeah, I can.
All
I've had bolognese cooking all day, so I can
I'm
smell it
too.
Yeah.
I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. And
I've been tired and emotional, and I almost lost my shit today when Matthew was like, our favorite reoccurring guest. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But I'm truly honored to be here.
We always love having you on. And honestly, I've been so excited every time I've seen something with Nida. The lawn signs are amazing color scheme.
Yes,
because like I'm not able to read a lawn sign, but I know which ones are hers because of the color scheme.
Because they're different colors on each side.
Because of my eyesight, Matthew. Before you make a comment.
Alex and I already exchanged a look. We're like, he's going to admit that he's illiterate. We've been waiting for him to tell everybody.
No.
And then, if you're a billionaire, you could just have people read for you.
Yeah. And then,
he's written 2 books, so
or you could just get AI to read it for you because.
Oh my God! Before we hop off real quick, I do have something hilarious to share with you guys. So last night, this is like hot off the presses. The Air Force just busted a kid. He's a staff sergeant. Don't ask me what base he's at because I don't remember. For stealing $3 million from the federal government. So if you guys are aware of how these investigations go, when the Office of Special Investigations detects this level of fraud, they actually let the person keep going and dig their hole as deep as they can get. And then there's a point where they're, all right, enough's enough. We got to go arrest this guy. So they arrest this kid, but the comments on the post were fire. And one of the comments was, he sounds about like this administration. When does he run for Senate?
Yeah. When does he get the Trump endorsement?
Right after the pardon.
Scaramucci says we're in the golden era of corruption, and the fact that happened was hilarious and awesome. And yes, if you can go find the story, it's great. But yeah, please go out and vote in this primary. Yeah. Heaven forbid that you have missed the opportunity to get your voice heard. And make no mistake, if you're that person who's gonna come back in November and be frustrated with who's on the ballot, know who you are and get off your bum and go vote in this election. Yeah. And because I will say this a million times over and over again, we're out there freezing our asses off every day. You guys have seen the videos of me and as many adults as I can find to hold our tent down while North Carolina's winds are trying to make it sail. We're not out here just for fun. We're out here so A, we can have elections still, and two, and B, so you can get your voice heard. This infrastructure that we're living in, and this concept of poll greeting, and this concept of the way we knock doors. This is the rules that North Carolina has made, and we're just doing our best to play the game that they've put down. So if you hate the way we do things here, cool, come out and tell us. Come out and show up, because that's what this is really about. The founding fathers over and over and over again meant for an informed electorate to go be a part of the electorate. If you want to come, if you care about what's going to happen in the future, and I know people are busy and I know we're tired, buddy, I'm one of them with a wind-chapped face and big old bags under my eyes because I'm sleepy. We're all one of those people who are tired of elections for a little bit. But get off your backside, go vote, and think about what it takes to clean our house. Think about what it takes to end entitlement in government. Think about what it means to put somebody in office who's a fighter. And yes, I am talking about Nida, but I'm also talking about a lot of other folks who are in this primary who want to lead from the front. You say you want that in your government, you say you want that in your politics, then go tell the world that you want that. We
Mhm.
say over and over again that Apex leads from the front. Then get up and show off what leadership looks like. You know, make me the bad guy and come out and vote. And you know,
And sorry, I want to
go
add
ahead,
one
Matt.
thing on what
Yeah,
you're saying. If you are voting in these primaries, you know, like I know that it's a off year and it's primaries and all that. Not an off year, but like it's a midterm that we're getting ready for. But like these people will tell, you know, if a bunch of Mamdanis and Nidas win, that will tell the party this is bigger than, like, we can't be affording
it's not a
these,
one-off. It's not a
yeah.
whoopsie. It's
And
for
so
real.
when we gear up for 2028, this will inform that. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
do, you know, they put a lot of money into these what do you call it, autopsies and stuff, and
Right.
sometimes they get the wrong thing out of him, but like the way to force them to get the right thing is to jam it down their throats. Like everybody who is like a Mamdani or a Nida or any of the other candidates that I don't know
Yeah.
that you believe in, if they are winning in bigger and bigger numbers, it will signal to the Chuck Schumers and
Yep.
the Hakeem Jeffries and all
Absolutely.
the people who are the party heads that will lead a lot of the direction of the party. Like, hey, we need to, if we want to keep our positions, we need to hear out the people. Now, I know that those two examples aren't great, but you know, the idea, you know, is the same.
Now,
No,
let me jump to
100%.
November for a second and to continue the thought.
Sure.
If you vote for a third party candidate rather than one of the two parties that will actually win, you are not sending a message to those decision makers. They don't know
No.
why you voted for them. They don't care why you voted for them. You're not
Mhm.
part of the process. I don't care what you think. You're fringe.
Yep.
If you
Right.
vote for the person in the municipal, in the primary, in the general, whoever, not just, you don't need your perfect candidate, though that's
No.
ideal if there is one, but
No.
you need the candidate closest to you who you think will be the easiest to push in the direction you want when they're in office.
Mhm.
Like, so
Right.
better to have someone who doesn't align with you perfectly, but you can go to their office, you can send them letters, you can get them to do what you hope they would do,
Right.
than to
Yes.
have someone where it's no chance. And for an example, since I have to push my secularism all the time, my group, Triangle Free Thought Society, and friends of ours at the atheist group at the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship got together and did a huge letter writing campaign to Deborah Ross and to Valerie Foushee, asking them both to um, be on the right side of a separation of church and state bill, and that neither of them had announced their positions on. And we sent hundreds of postcards. We had them hand delivered to Valerie Foushee's one of her assistants, and Foushee just announced that she's going to co-sponsor the bill, like we
Yeah.
begged her to, and we're waiting on to hear from Ross. And that wasn't something she was going to do, and we were able to move her to it. And I'll tell you, if a Republican was in that spot, I don't know that we would have been able to move them in one letter writing campaign. Maybe
Right.
eventually
Right.
we would, and we
Yeah.
would have tried, but I don't
Probably
know
would
that
have
we can
taken
move them.
several.
A-
Yep.
And
So
and
you
yeah.
vote for the person you can move if you don't get the person that moves you.
And there was a time in this country's history where you could sit out an election and you're going to get, you know, like if 2008, as much as I'm glad we got Obama over McCain, the fate of the democracy wasn't on the line, right? Like, so like
It's on
yeah,
the line now.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
like
Who would have thought, like, look back at Mitt Romney and say, well, that wouldn't have
Yeah.
been horrible.
It wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. Yeah.
Right.
Like we would still be in, you know, like a democracy, a functional democracy. And in either of those cases, we're not in that situation at the moment. And that, you know, and that's why, like, we don't have the option. I get why people are resistant to vote blue no matter who, but in the time we're in right now, unfortunately, that is what we need, is vote blue no matter who. We need to do our best to force that to be the best that we can get. And then we need to vote blue.
Pick
No
the
matter
shade
who.
of blue now in the primary, but then vote for whatever shade is there in
Yeah.
November.
Absolutely. And you know, like I'm a Second Amendment absolutist, right? And how many of my candidates and I don't agree on guns, right? Now, I will say this. The concept of the Second Amendment Democrat has become a reality, particularly as a lot of innocent people have been murdered by people with masks on. That's changed the narrative a lot lately. But you know, you us Dems are really good at creating some sort of unattainable standard for the candidates, and then being like, oh, they don't check this tiny box for me, and so I'm out, and I'm going to go support somebody else.
Yeah,
Don't be
please
that
don't
dude.
be that single topic voter. That's
Right.
one of the reasons we have what we have now.
Please, it's exactly why we have what we
do
have
your
now.
research.
Yeah,
do some reading.
If you believe in the republic for which it stands, for the love of God.
Do you have that one friend that you criticize, even though you're still friends with them? Vote like that.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So Matthew, you want to start us off?
Yeah. Listen, because we're in the middle of, or a little past the middle of early voting for the primary, we are going to keep this unedited raw footage, our live stream. We usually take off at the end of the night, like it's just for people watching live. But we're going to keep it going until we have the edited version up, so that people do have a chance to see this. So Jason could tell all his friends to come watch. Hey, Jason Riddle was on the podcast. So please like this video. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. And I know you hear that all the time, but I really mean it for this one, because then you'll know when the edited version of the video goes up, because this version, that's the live version, will go away when the edited version comes. And and maybe you can hear some of our future things, and maybe you're an expert in one of the topics we're talking about, just like Jason is on this topic, and you can come be on the pod. That's why Jason's here, not just because he's cute, but because he's an expert in what we're talking about.
But it's a lot of it. It's a lot.
It's a lot of
I mean,
it.
it does help. It does help.
There is video.
It does help. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had
so
a press
please.
conference last weekend, and I sent the live stream to my wife, and I was like, and Julie Von Haffen spoke, and I was like, there's a really hot dude behind Julie, and it was me.
Nice. And if you are wanting to support us in a above and beyond kind of way, you can go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. We have 4 options on there. There is the $0 option, which is just, like that helps spread the news by you being a follower on there. But then the $1 option gets you the episodes early. The $3 option gets you the less censored version, and the $10 version gets you our pre-show conversation, which is very often unrelated, but most often pretty fun. So
but that's really expensive
work tonight.
That's real expensive, Mike, because that's $10 per episode. That's like $40 a month.
Oh, you're wrong though, because it's per month. So it's actually $2.50 per episode. And on a month where we have 5 weeks, it's actually $2 an episode. So yeah, no, it's $10 a month. Those are all the price per month. It's free per month for the free version.
Free per month for the free version. You don't charge us free per episode.
No. Well, it's both actually. But yeah, so
what a value, I gotta
like and
tell
subscribe, and if you feel like it, go over to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. Thanks again, Jason. This was great having you on. I will be I have not early voted yet, but I will be early voting this week.
What the
fuck?
If you go to the Apex location, you will probably meet Jason. He's usually there.
Like 100%
voter, am I allowed
to admit that too.
Yeah, anywhere in Wake County.
Coming for you.
For early voting, I'll tell everyone this. For early voting in North Carolina, you can go to any early voting site in your county to vote. You tell them who you are. They will give you the correct ballot for you in your county. On election day, you must go to the election site on your voter card. So look up on NC Voter ID where you belong on March 3rd. But
during
early voting, you can go.
Yeah,
and
during
you
early
can do
voting,
one-stop shop, right, Jason?
Yes, the early voting site also is like basically direct access to the Board of Elections. So if you do wish to change anything about your electoral status, your address, your party affiliation, any of those things, you can change right there on site.
Or register for the first time if you're not yet registered.
Or register for the first time if you're not registered. And also, I got one today. It happened today. A lady came in, and she was a long life registered Republican, and she went in the room today, changed her registration, and voted in our primary. Let's fucking go.
Great. Yeah.
Rip into it.
Now, Matthew Tron, can you sign us off real quick?
Matthew Tron.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being here and listen to us talk about the big stuff. We have taken on the riddle of voting and came up with Vote Blue.